Hello, you're listening to Liberty Rants. So if you're not living under a rock, you probably have heard that Nancy Hypocrisy Pelosi, the head of our wonderful House of Representatives, sent out a $900 billion COVID relief bill that was also bundled with a $1.4 trillion government spending bill Monday afternoon. This bill was 5,593 pages. And let's just hear from Congressman Mark Green about how ridiculous the situation was.
Mark Green here in my new office in Rayburn, getting moved in. Today at 2:15, Nancy Pelosi and the Democrat leadership released this spending bill, 5,593 pages, and they want us to vote on it at 8 p.m. tonight. This is the definition of insanity. It's 970 plus pages we have to read in an hour, 16 or so pages per minute, and then vote at 8 p.m. tonight. This is why the American people are so angry. This is swamp dysfunction. We have to get Nancy Pelosi out of the Speaker's chair, period.
Obviously, what's so damn irritating is that Nancy Pelosi knows exactly what she's doing when she issues bills in this manner. She's done it before with Obamacare. Remember when she said, "We must pass the bill to know what's in it"? She's trying to eliminate transparency from the public and to any of those who would otherwise oppose these ridiculous garbage bills that she issues. This is bullshit. Because as you know, we the taxpayers are the ones funding these sociopaths, such as Nancy Pelosi. But they think of us as incoherent slaves that should be fine with whatever garbage they want to spend our tax money on. Mostly because it benefits them and not the taxpayer. Rand Paul gave an excellent speech on the Senate floor prior to the voting. Let's have a listen.
Republicans like to mock modern monetary theory. The idea that government can print money with impunity, that government can spend whatever it wants without the need to tax. Most Republicans rightly lampoon this quackery, that is, when they're not practicing the quackery themselves. Today, many of these same Republicans will vote for a bill that makes modern monetary theory look like child's play in comparison. The monster spending bill presented today is not just a deficits don't matter disaster, it is everything Republicans say they don't believe in. This bill is free money for everyone. If money really grew on trees, why not give more free money? Why not give it out all the time? Why stop at $600 a person? Why not $1,000? Why not $2,000? Maybe these new free money Republicans should join the Everybody Gets a Guaranteed Income caucus. To so-called conservatives who are quick to identify the socialism of Democrats, if you vote for this spending monstrosity, you are no better. When you vote to pass out free money, you lose your soul and you abandon forever any semblance of moral or fiscal integrity. So the next time you see Republicans in high moral dudgeon, claiming and complaining about spending of Democrats and socialism, remind them if they supported this monstrous bill that really the difference between the parties is less Adam Smith versus Marx and more Marx versus Engels. How bad is our fiscal situation? Well, the federal government brought in $3.3 trillion last year and spent $6.6 trillion. The deficit last year, a record-busting $3.3 trillion. If you're looking for more COVID bailout money, we don't have any. Today's money is gone. So Congress is spending tomorrow's money. This is the money that your children and your grandchildren will pay back with interest. The deficit doubling and tripling. Under George Bush, it went from $5 trillion to $10 trillion. Under President Obama, it went from 10 to 20 trillion. We're now at 27 trillion, but we're adding it at $1 trillion a year before we get to this COVID budget-busting bailout. Every tax-paying American already owes over $136,000. We are $27 trillion in debt today. How do we expect a child to have the economic opportunity when this crushing debt is their inheritance from Congress? Well, 1 billion seconds ago was 1988, and Reagan was president. 1 billion minutes ago, Jesus walked the shore of the Sea of Galilee. 1 billion hours ago, man still lived in caves. But $1 billion ago was just 80 minutes ago. $1 billion ago, at the rate Congress spends money, was just 80 minutes ago. Total debt was 55% of GDP just 20 years ago. Today, it's 128% of GDP. It isn't the pandemic that's killing the economy, it's the government's overzealous response that is killing the economy. The pandemic itself was disrupted, but Congress is being asked to help perpetuate these lockdowns. The more money we give to the states, the more they keep us in lockdown. Every bailout dollar printed and passed out to the governors only allows these tin-pot dictators to perpetuate the lockdowns. Their rules are arbitrary and unscientific. Governors and mayors across the country are picking winners and losers. Businesses, some that have been in families for generations, are being wiped out because they're not allowed to open. Bars are told that they can only serve alcohol if people are sitting and not standing, and only if they have heavy foods on their menus. Restaurants are told they can serve outdoors, then they have their permission revoked after they've sunk time and money converting their restaurant to outdoor services. But a caterer is told they can still serve outside. Mom and pop stores and specialty stores are forced to close, but big box store competitors are allowed to stay open. Meanwhile, many schools remain closed, despite overwhelming evidence showing kids can learn safely in person. But it's clear that government has worsened the economic damage and acted as the biggest obstacle to economic recovery. The thing that can save us is to open the economy. If we give these tin-pot dictators, these governors, more money, they're less likely to open the economy. The answer is not printing up and distributing free money, it's opening the economy. We can choose to let our economies open with guidance and precautions, but not obstruction. Let people rebuild their livelihoods. Reopen our schools so our kids can return and parents can go back to work. Spending, eliminate waste. Stop fighting a $50 billion a year war in Afghanistan that hasn't had a military mission in at least a decade. I will oppose this new debt, and I will continue to sound the alarm until we change our course. Our country can be saved. We can survive this if we pull together, but adding more debt is a mistake. It is not the solution, and we should resist it. Thank you, Mr.
And guess what? Even after that excellent speech by Rand Paul, Congress still passed the $900 billion and $1.4 trillion bill just before midnight the same day that it was issued. Only a small minority of Republican senators voted against the bill. Those being Rand Paul, of course, Ted Cruz, Rick Scott, Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, and Marsha Blackburn. Just 2 Democrat members of Congress opposed the bill package, those being Tulsi Gabbard, the best Democrat there is, and Rashida Tlaib. And you might be asking, what's in these massive bills, the COVID relief bills that they're issuing for us, all us lucky Americans? Well, let me tell you where our taxpayer money is going. So here we go. Domestic funding. The Kennedy Center gets $26.4 million. The Smithsonian gets $1 billion. National Art Gallery gets $154 million. National Arts and Humanities gets $167 million. Woodrow Wilson Center gets $14 million. And now let's go to foreign countries. Egypt gets $1.3 billion. Sudan gets $700 million. Ukraine gets $453 million. Israel gets $500 million. Nepal $130 million. And Pakistan gets $10 million for gender studies programs. Well, what do American people that fund this bloated and incompetent government get? Yeah, $600. That's right, $600 after being forced to give up their entire lives. $600 after being locked inside for 10 months, closing their businesses and jumping through hoop after hoop to just make a living and go out in public. Americans get $600 for sacrificing their entire lives for failed policies, and Pakistan gets $10 million for gender studies programs. How does that make you feel? And guess who has to pay back these $600 as well as the remainder of that $2.4 trillion? It's not the politicians. It's us, our kids, and our grandkids. They have to pay it back. The government tells us how to live, what to do. They fail miserably at all the experimental policies that crush our livelihoods. And then they give us a measly $600 that our kids must pay back, with interest, mind you, in the future. Why, thanks for the help, government. Meanwhile, they don't lose any of their jobs. They don't lose any income. They just tell us to suck it up and fund billions to other programs in other countries. This brings me to my point. The majority of the government officials, both Democrats and Republicans, are disgusting and absolutely worthless. Anybody supporting these politicians or such a ridiculous bill does not care for the well-being of any child in America. Plain and simple. They care nothing for the future of any children or anybody else except their own greedy selves. Nothing provided by the government is free, especially money. It's just a cover-up to make it seem like these tyrants care about you, but they don't. They care nothing for you or your family's futures. They have caused these issues and they're trying to get out of it by making it seem like they're giving you money, but it's just money that you, the taxpayer, and your future tax-paying children must pay back. Where else would the money come from? If you disagree, then tell me, why don't they just freeze taxes and spending? Why don't they just let us go back to work and open up the businesses? All of their policies have failed, and some other places are having no issues at all, and they're completely open right now. There is just one more person who can stop this atrocious bill, and that's President Trump, because it lies on his desk for final signature. Let's hope he does the right thing. In the meantime, wake up, America. You're being used and abused. They care nothing about you. Demand better. It's time to take a stand and resist these tyrannical policies. Please vote these incompetent losers out.